Greetings, friends. This is 5 Minutes of BS with Pastor Erica. Today, our Bible study comes from the first chapter and 27th verse of Philippians. Only live your life in a manner worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent and hear from you, I will know that you are standing firm in one spirit, striving side by side with one mind of the faith of the gospel. Paul, again, your words are easier said than done. To live a life worthy of the gospel, he obviously isn't here in 2020 between pandemics and protests. So how do we live this worthy life, a life that reflects the gospel? How do we live and behave a life in a manner that is worthy? How can we, followers of Christ, conduct our lives, behave as citizens of both earthly kingdoms and heavenly kingdoms? Paul is encouraging the community of believers to behave in a certain way. This is the word live. It's an action verb here that calls Christians into an active relationship with the entire community. But this is really hard for Americans, and really hard for American Christians who have been trained to only think individualistic. We often only think about me. What's yours is mine, not what's mine is yours. This is a huge challenge for us today, to think communally in order to solve problems in the community. Even our religious and political climate forces individuals like you, to conform your beliefs, your perspectives, your lives in order to be united. But unity does not mean conformity. You can have your own God-given unique thoughts, convictions, and perspectives while staying united with the entire community. This is really hard. It's hard in my own city here in Louisville, when there are so many different perspectives, different positions, different ways of seeing the world. And yet something has happened or has been happening in our community that is broken, that we must solve together. But how can we solve problems in the community when we are only thinking about our own individuality? We live in this binary world that forces people to choose either this way or that way, as if you must define who you are and how you live based upon who you are against or who is against you. This either-or system gets us all stuck in a cycle of othering, forcing us to take hard-line positions that then pin us against each other. Religious views and political opinions require us to be either for or against. But I wonder, is there a third way? A space in between, another dimension that we might live into? The gospel of Jesus Christ is not built upon either-or systems. The gospel is about both and. The gospel, the good news, is never about being against, but about being for. The world is always looking to make villains and victims out of everyone, but God calls us to behave in a way that constantly creates space for all God's children. Even the ones we don't like, the ones we disagree with, the ones with opinions that make us squirm, the one with perspectives that appear dehumanizing. Even the ones that wave flags in our neighbors' yards in a direction we don't like. It's hard. It's hard work, trusting others to do their own hard work. But too often, we think that the only way to change the world is to change the other. If only these people, that person would get their act together, get their lives in order, get their facts straight. But we can't live in community if we are always trying to change the other. We can't live a life worthy of the gospel if we ourselves aren't doing the hard gospel work. The hard soul work of changing our own minds, changing our behavior, changing our hearts in such a way that creates space for others to do the same. This week, what change do you need to work on for the sake of the gospel, for the sake of the entire community?